What's up, guys? So today we are going over the top 5 pros and cons of moving to Jacksonville, Florida, and we're getting after it right now. Hey guys, so my name is Ed Wheeler and I am a realtor and sailor here in Jacksonville, Florida, and I have created this company called Agency Armed Forces, and our whole goal is to try and help as many active duty service members during their PCS. PCSing is one of those things that it's extremely difficult, extremely stressful. None of us likes to do it, and so if we can be of assistance to you during this difficult time, that's what we want to do. And then we also want to help active duty and veterans learn about investing in real estate, creating generational wealth, and all of these things that go in with real estate as well. So if this is what you're looking for, please give us a call, shoot us an email, snail mail, doesn't matter. Just hit us up because we've got your back when moving to Jacksonville, Florida. All right, so pro number 1 is that there's a relatively low cost of living here in Jacksonville, Florida. It has gone up with the market. So during COVID times and everything like that, we saw a ginormous increase in home prices. We saw a big decrease in mortgage rates, and now we're seeing a giant increase in the interest rates themselves. Now, it's still relatively low. Prices did go up pretty high here in Jacksonville, but the average home at this point, compared to a couple years ago where you could find a place in the price range of about $200,000 to $300,000, you can still find good places in that price range. The average price range right now is probably around $300,000 to $350,000, but at this point, you can still, depending on what you're looking for, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, you know, all that kind of stuff, then that's what's really going to determine how much, obviously, your new home is going to cost you. But it's still relatively low, especially when you compare it to other parts of the country, say, for example, San Diego, or you know, a lot of places, you know, in California. They're just extremely expensive still. Prices are coming down due to the fact that the interest rates did go up. But right now, here in January of 2023, it is still a great time to buy. Matter of fact, I just bought my home here in Jacksonville, and I have a relatively high interest rate, but I am holding off and probably going to refinance later on in the year, just depending on what happens with interest rates. But overall, home prices are around the median for the country. And then as far as cost of living, electricity and all that stuff, they're relatively low comparable to other parts of the country. The only thing that's probably a little bit higher right now is your home insurance, and that's because of all the hurricanes and everything that did come through. So be mindful of that, but if you give me a call and we go over it, I can go over all of that stuff with you. Okay, con number 1 would be crime rate, but I say it's a con. Crime rate in general is a con, but the issue that you always run into is there's always going to be crime, right? No matter where you go, there's going to be crime. So it really depends on what part of the city that you are moving to. Say, for example, if you're going to be stationed on Nas Jax, you're probably going to be going over more towards the west side of Jacksonville, whereas if you're being stationed on Mayport, you're probably going to be on the east side of Jacksonville, and south or north, depending on what you're looking for. The heaviest crime that we have in Jacksonville is going to be northwest Jacksonville. There is crime pretty much everywhere. So you can't really escape it per se, but there are really good neighborhoods. For example, the neighborhood that I live in is right off of Beach Boulevard, and it's quiet. You don't hear anything here. So there's not a lot of crime that happens in the neighborhood. There may be crime on the main road where there's a lot of businesses and things. That's generally where the crime follows anyway. So it really depends on kind of what you can tolerate as far as crime goes. Just like any other city, it is dependent on how much business is around you, how close are you to downtown, and really crime in every major city, tends to go block by block. So you won't necessarily know, even if you look it up on a crime map, you may not be able to get the full picture because the crime map is just going to show you an area. All right, so pro number 2 is the great weather. As you can see, I'm on my patio. It is January the 16th, and it's warm enough where I'm out here in a short sleeve and shorts. I'm just sitting on the patio, and it's probably about 65 degrees or so right now, and it is absolutely wonderful. So great weather. The summers can be hot, which is natural. You're in the South, right? And then the winters, they do get cold, especially at night. But other than that, it does warm up very quickly during the day. And so it's wonderful weather. It's sunny. You do have a rainy season, but overall, the weather's really good here. We did have a cold front just come through here, and so the temperatures dropped pretty significantly, but overall, it's really good weather. All right, con number 2 is the amount of pest issues that you can have. So down here in Florida, you have a lot of cockroaches. There's a bunch of lizards, which I wouldn't really consider them pests. They like to eat the bugs and stuff, so keep them around. You do have, because it's so humid, you have a massive influx of mosquitoes. So you have to watch out for that, which is why I like having this screened-in porch here. But the main things that you're going to see around here are going to be your cockroaches and your mosquitoes as far as the bug pests go. Now, other pests that you might consider are going to be actual animals. So obviously we're in Florida. You do have gators. Any pretty big body of water is probably going to have a gator in it, at least one. In my neighborhood, we have kind of a cat problem, and that's because the Humane Society burned down, so all the cats got out, and now they're wild. But overall, we don't have too many pests. You do have some wildlife. You can have snakes, and obviously the gators. I have heard of people encountering some boars, but that's not really often, especially if you're in a more crowded area anyway, so you don't really have to worry about that. But your biggest things are going to be your mosquitoes and your cockroaches, and your cockroaches are pretty much unavoidable. There's just nothing. You can definitely spray, and you can definitely try to seal up as much of your house as you possibly can, but you're still going to see them. So there's no real way to get around that. All right, so pro number 3 is that there are beaches galore. I mean, you're in Jacksonville. You have Atlantic Beach, Jax Beach. If you're active duty, there's a beach on Mayport that's really nice. Beaches everywhere. So get out, enjoy the sun, enjoy the beach. If you are a beach person, just go. It's amazing. The beaches are hot and sandy, and the water is nice. So get out there and enjoy yourself. The beaches are everywhere, and the most crowded beaches are going to be your Atlantic Beach and Jax Beach, because those are where civilians have access to. Now, if you want to go someplace that's a little more secluded, I recommend going to the beach on Mayport, because as military we have access to that base, and it's a really nice beach to go and have a good family outing. All right, so con number three is limited public transportation. Now, generally, if you're active duty, you probably have a car, but if you want to get around, let's say you're an airman or something like that, or a seaman or anything like that, then you're probably looking at public transportation. And you're kind of limited because the public transportation really isn't significant. So you're probably going to take an Uber, and you can also take a Lyft. But Jacksonville is so big that you're going to want, most people are traveling a good distance just to get around. The other thing about it is that the traffic can be horrendous at certain times. Coming here, it seemed like nobody knows how to drive. So it seems like there's two types of drivers: overly cautious and overly aggressive. There's no real middle ground. So just be mindful of that, and there's going to be a lot of cars on the road. There's a ton of traffic. Everywhere you go is going to be pretty much a distance. You can get to a lot of things within 15 minutes of your house, but if, let's say, you have to go to the Jax, Nas Jax hospital, well, from my house it's probably about a half an hour. I've seen some people it's about an hour. For me to drive from my house to Mayport, it's about a half an hour. So if I were to go from Mayport all the way to Nas Jax, you're talking about 40 minutes to an hour. So the time can creep up on you, and the traffic is, I mean, there's big roads everywhere, so don't get me wrong, the traffic does move, but because there's so many people here and Jacksonville is so big, it does have its issues. All right, pro number 4 is kind of a pro/con depending on who you are. So Jacksonville kind of has a small town vibe. There's a lot of little pockets of built up areas, and downtown itself is not a huge built up skyline or anything like that. So it does have a small town feel to it, and people here really love their Jaguars. They love their hockey. There's a lot of sporting events here. So you do have that, but there's not a huge, it's not like New York or Philadelphia or any of the big metropolises that are huge, built up with sky rises and everything. It's not that kind of feel. It's more of a small town, homey feel. And me personally, I really enjoy that part of Jacksonville. Everybody's extremely nice, so it makes for a really nice experience down here. All right, so con number 4 is that the job market isn't as good as other areas. Now, that's more along the lines of the civilian population, whereas the military population, Navy-wise, this is the 3rd biggest area for Navy in the country. So there are plenty of jobs if you're a prior Navy, or if you are looking to retire. Maybe this is your last tour in the Navy and you're looking to retire. There are plenty of jobs, aviation, boat side jobs, all that stuff. There's plenty of that here. Now, if you're coming and let's say your spouse is looking for a job, it may be a little bit harder, but again, if they have prior experience, then they should have no trouble finding a job. All right, pro number 5. Pro number 5 is there's an absolute ton to do here. Like I mentioned earlier, there's the Jaguars football team, there's hockey team, they have plenty of sporting events. They have an orchestra if that's the stuff you're into. They have musicals. They have a number of different shows. You could spend a whole day downtown and just walk around. You can go to the beach, and as I mentioned before too, one of the pros is the weather. Well, that makes it really good here as well for having a day out and doing things. So plenty to do here. And on top of that, Jacksonville is probably about 2 hours away from Orlando. So you can get there and go to, let's say you have a family, they have, Disney World, the Busch Gardens. There's a number of SeaWorld, all these attractions down there. They have Universal Studios, all that stuff. So it's not that far, and MWR is always putting on tickets and trips and tours and stuff like that. So you can get pretty good tickets at a reasonable price for all kinds of stuff around here. All right, so con number 5. Con number 5, I don't really have too much for con number 5. It really pertains to the city as a whole. It does have a lower income than other areas of the country, but not by much. It's just slightly lower, but I wouldn't really say it's noticeable as a con. I think we've hit the other cons pretty well, and the biggest one that I have is really going to be the amount of traffic, and the distance that it takes to go places. And Jacksonville's continuing to expand, so as the years go by, Jacksonville's just going to get bigger. I'm not sure what they're planning yet. I'm still doing my research, but it seems like they just want to keep growing Jacksonville and get it even bigger and bigger. However, I have seen between the pros and the cons. I just read an article about the top 2 cities to live in Florida. Number 1 being Tampa, and number 2 being Jacksonville. So if you are active duty and you're looking at getting stationed somewhere, Jacksonville just might be the place for you. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, my name is Ed Wheeler. I'm a realtor and sailor here in Jacksonville, Florida. And if you are PCSing to Jacksonville, PCSing to Mayport, if you are getting out of the military, or maybe you were just looking for investing advice, please give me a call, shoot me a text, email, snail mail, doesn't matter, because I've got your back when moving to Jacksonville, Florida.